Okay, today we're going to learn about vertical angles and supplementary angles. So first, let's do vertical angles. So vertical angles are angles that are across from each other. So angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. Angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. The other thing about vertical angles is when they're across from each other, they're the same measure. So angle 1 and angle 3 are the same degrees. So also we have another pair of vertical angles. We have angle 4 and we have angle 2. We have angle 4 is vertical to angle 2. And they're the same measure. So let's say angle 4 was 50 degrees. I don't know if it actually is. I'm just using it as an example. So let's say angle 4 was 50 degrees. Angle 2 would also be 50 degrees. Let's say angle 1 was 130 degrees. So if angle 1 is 130 degrees, angle 3 would also be 130 degrees. Vertical angles are across from each other and they're the same measure. They have the same amount of degrees. They're the same size. So that's vertical angles. The next angles we're going to talk about are called supplementary angles.
This step is a great example of two angles that form a straight line. These two angles are called supplementary because together they add up to 180 degrees. It's confusing because complementary and supplementary sound alike. I have 3 ways to help you remember them. Don't feel like you have to memorize all 3 ways. Pick the one that makes the most sense for you and remember that one. In the alphabet, the letter C for complementary comes before the letter S for supplementary. And in a number line, 90 comes before 180. So C complementary goes with 90 degrees, and S supplementary goes with 180 degrees. A corner is a 90-degree angle, and a corner is complementary, C for C. A straight angle equals 180 degrees, and supplementary angles are straight angles, S for S. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. The word complementary has one P in it. If I take that P and turn it around, it looks like a 9. Put a 0 on it and it's 90. Complementary is 90 degrees. The word supplementary has 2 P's in it. Turn those P's around and they're 9s. Add your zeros to the end. 90 plus 90 equals 180. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees.
All right, so that's supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are any 2 angles that add up and get 180 degrees. And like that video said, the way I remembered it is supplementary starts with S, and so does straight. And 180 degrees is a straight line. It's a straight angle. So if we can get a straight angle, that's 180 degrees, S and S. So let's see this example here. 120 plus 60 should give us 180. 120 plus 60 does give us 180. So these two are supplementary angles, and they are adjacent supplementary angles because they share a common vertex and a common side. In this example, we have 52 and 128. So 52 plus 128 will give me 180 degrees. So these 2 angles are also supplementary. These are called non-adjacent supplementary angles because they do not share a common vertex or a common side. They're separated. So but they're still supplementary angles because they add to 180 degrees. So how do I find the missing angle if I know that they're supplementary? So I know that 35, this angle here, 35 degrees, plus this angle of B will equal 180 degrees. This is a straight line right here. So I know that B plus 35 will equal 180. So now I have to solve for B. So what I would do is do minus 35 to get rid of the 35 on this side. And I will do the same thing on the other side, minus 35. 5. Alright, so when I do that, this canceled out and I'm left with B on the left side, and then 180 minus 35 is 145. So angle B in this example is 145 degrees. In my next example, I have two angles that are non-adjacent, they're not next to each other, but it says it's supplementary. So I'm going to find the supplementary angle. It says angle 8 is 120. So angle 8 is 120 degrees. We need to know what angle 9 is. So I'm going to make that X, because I don't know what that is yet. But I know if I add these two, it'll get me to 180 degrees. So I know X plus 120 will equal 180. And now I can solve for X. So I would do minus 120 to get rid of it on this side and leave me with X. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And 180 minus 120 is 60. So X is 60 degrees, or angle 9 in this case is 60 degrees. Alright, let's try these next two examples. These next two examples, I see that makes an X. So that means I have some vertical angles. So I know that vertical angles are across from each other. So this angle here that's 65 degrees and this angle Y are vertical from each other. They're across from each other. Any angles that are across from each other have the same measure. So if this is 65 degrees, Y has got to be 65 degrees. And I also see that X and Z are vertical from each other. They're opposite of each other. So those will be the same. But how do I figure out what those measures are? Well, I see that right here, this makes a straight line. So I know that this 65 degrees and X are supplementary. So what I can do is X plus 65 will give me 180 degrees. So then I can solve for X. So I would do minus 65 to get rid of it on this side and do the same thing on this side. And that will leave me with X equals 180 minus 65 is 115 degrees. So if X is 115 degrees, that means that Z, which is vertical from it, is also 115 degrees. Vertical angles are real easy, they give it to you. It's the exact same measure as the one that's across from it. Alright, let's do this next example. So we're finding all the missing angle measures. So we're going to find all three of these missing angles. Alright, so first I see that this angle of 30 degrees and this angle are across from each other, so that means that they're vertical. And vertical angles are the same measure. So this angle over here would be 30 degrees. But I don't know what X and this angle are. But I see that they're verticals, they're going to be the same, but I don't know what the measure is. But if I look here, if I draw a line from Y all the way over to Z, that makes a straight line. And a straight line I know is 180 degrees. So I know that 30 plus this unknown value will give me this degree measure. So X, I don't know what it is, plus 30 will give me 180. So how do I find, what do I do now? I have to get rid of that 30 to get X by itself. So I do minus 30 to get rid of that, and I'm left with X. And I would do minus 30 on this side. 180 minus 30 is 150. So I see that this angle now is 150 degrees. And if this is 150 degrees, the side across from it is the same because they're vertical. So this would be 150 degrees. Alright, so that is vertical and supplementary angles. Vertical angles are across from each other and have the same measure. So 150, 150, 30, 30. They're vertical. They have the same measure. Supplementary angles are two angles that add up to get 180. So these are two angles that add up to get 180 degrees, which is a straight line. If you have any questions, please ask a teacher for help.